Hello everyone, and thank you for your patience. So today, starting with our webinar, today we have very interesting topic that gonna be useful for a lot of people considering their multiple business cases. So let's look at what we would be seeing today. So the topic for today is how to automate record sharing in the Kailas. Now, this is a generic topic, and what all points we would be seeing is what is record sharing in Kailash system, how a record can be shared manually within the Kailash, and also how we can automate the record sharing based on the different business events that meets your needs. So when I say record sharing, we share certain kind of information within our team so that everyone would be on the same page. So to understand this, let's consider one of the business case. So there is a business where the prospects go through a life cycle and it connect with the different teams internally. For example, I have a servicing business where I provide services to laptop, computer, and the equipments related to these machines. Now there are a lot of requests that I get, and at the time of servicing, I need to share this information with the multiple department I have in my organization. For example, first I would be getting a request where one of my team member would be looking at the requirement. So when I say requirement is the problem that the end customer facing. Now when the requirements are collected, it will be cascaded to the next department where the actual servicing will be done by the technician or the hardware engineer. Upon that, he will calculate what exact amount of service that would be needed and what are the charges would be required to be collected from the end customer. Now, in this case, the invoice will be generated by another department, that is my finance department, where everything related to account receivable and payable will be managed. Once these things are done, then a final step where my one of my colleague would be taking a feedback from the end customer on the services that I have provided and what he feels when it comes to recommending my organization to one of his family member or friends. This is a generic business case that I have considered. Now how it actually help the businesses to achieve this, let's look at it in the Kailas system. So for that, let me share my screen and see how we can achieve it within the Kailas. So when I log in to the Kailas system, this is the first thing that I would be seeing is the Kailas dashboard. And on the left hand side, I have this small icon representing the different entities in the CRM. So first I would be starting with the leads or the prospect. Here I have this information or this many records within my system where I'm getting inquiry about the service request. So let me create one record manually in this system. Okay, I'm creating one record that is Manoj Mohan. I'm selecting owner myself over here, adding few more details as such as the email address and save. So here a record got created. So when we say that record sharing, that means a replica of one of the record will be available to one of my colleague based on with whom I would be sharing the record. But there is a one thing that I also want is that not all the records from my system should be seen to that particular user or to even any of the users. So I want a certain limit of record to be seen by one of my team member or the different departments that I have in my organization. How that can be achieved is now I'm on detail page of one of my query, that is Manoj Mohan. On this more info icon, when I click on this drop down, overflow menu open where I can see one option, that is share. So when I click, a small pop-up open. So here you can read the header, share lead Manoj Mohan, and here we have few options such as share to. So I can share this particular record with a user or a team. So based on my selection, I can see the drop down option corresponding to the previous selection, whether I have selected user or a team. So when I select Siddharth Karat as one of my team member, and here you will have a privilege to select the permission as to what Siddharth can see when I share this lead or what he can do on this particular record. So the basic permission that goes with the rule is the read permission so that Mr. Siddharth can see Manoj Mohan's record. Along with this, I can also give update permission so that Siddharth can update certain thing on this particular record. Also, we have different toggles such as Siddharth can add a note or create a task, meeting, and etc. So this is how a record can be manually shared. Now, to understand how the record sharing can be automated, let's go to the settings section. So since automation is one of the key part that plays into our business that can be accessed through CRM setting, and under here you will see one automation menu which can be accessible to the users based on the permissions. So under automation, you will see a list of all the workflows or the automation that you have created within your system. So let me create a workflow where I would be automating the data sharing. I will give a name, prospect sharing events. So I will be giving a name to this. Prospect will be shared with the teams based on the stages or life cycle it is at. Now here I would be selecting one of my entity, that is lead. So you can add this sharing rule on the lead, contact, and deal, since these are the individual entities and can be shared with your team member. On the step 2, I will select the action type as to when this needs to be triggered. So here we have two options. One is when a record is created in the system or a record is updated in the system. So I will select update, since there would be a life cycle of update through which this particular record be going, and at the time of this life cycle I want different teams of my organization to be interacted with this record and perform their activities. Now here I would be selecting a condition on which this particular workflow of sharing record needs to be triggered. So now to do that, let me first attach a pipeline to this Manoj Mohan so that we can see what is the life cycle through which this record gonna be go through. So here I have this menu stage such as first that is open when the record comes to us as one of my prospect for my business. Now second I have collect requirement where one of my team member would be checking with the customer as to what exact requirement he is having or she is having. Then the requirement finalization as to what servicing needs to be done on their computer or machine. Then I would be having invoice generate where the finance team would be coming into picture and generating the invoices. And final is the prospect sign off where the payment would be done and requirement, the feedback collected from them. Now same I will accommodate in my workflow. So I will select a pipeline stage. So let me select pipeline stage, new value equals to invoice generate. So when this particular record reaches to this stage of its life, then I want this particular record to be shared with one of my team member. Finance team generate invoice and I would be selecting user that is Siddhant Kharat who belongs to finance department of my organization and I would be giving him certain access. Like here, I want to give all the access so that he can add a note, meeting, or document such as what invoice he would be generating. He can upload that to this particular record, and once it is collected, he can have the document recorded on this particular record for my audit and history purpose. So let me save and activate. Okay. Now, this is one of the important thing that we would be considering at the time of creating a share record automation. So as soon as I tried to save this record, I got an error which reads that the user do not have the required permission in order to access the record. So what I will be doing, I will be let me grant the access to this particular user. Yep. Now generate. I have saved. Okay. Let me start this again. Noise generation, lead immediate. So I would be creating a sharing rule when this particular lead or the prospect is updated based on this particular life cycle. So here I would be selecting invoice generation and share the record. So service user, I will select Siddharth, update and save. Now this automation has been created in my system. Let's go to record and we will see this record on the Mr. Siddhant's account as well. So let me log into Mr. Siddhant's account. So this is Mr. Siddhant's account. Let me sign out and log in again. So here, when I search for Mr. Manoj, there is no record being available for Mr. Siddhant. So this is Mr. Siddhant's account. Okay. Now let's go back to our prospect. So here we have collected the requirement as to what exactly Mr. Manoj wants. So let me add a note. Mr. Manoj is looking to replace the motherboard for his Dell laptop. So this is the requirement I have got. Then the requirement got finalized. Now at this step, invoice generation, I want this particular lead to be shared with the Mr. Mohan, which is what we have added in the automation. Now let me click on the invoice generate, and as soon as I click on this, we will see on the workflow, we can see the trigger count has been increased, and also we can see when it was last triggered at. So here we can see Jan 4 2023 at 5:51, which is just, and at this time this got triggered on one count. That means one record has been shared. So let's go back to our Siddhant's login and see if he is able to view the record. Let me refresh. Now you can see on top, this Manoj Mohan record is available for Mr. Siddhant. So let me go to this particular record and invoice generate. I will move it to the next step, that is prospect sign off. So if you remember at the time of creating a automation, I gave update permission to Mr. Siddhant so that once he finish up with its task of invoice generate, he can push it to the next step. And if we go back to our regular login, now I can see this invoice generate step is completed and it got back to the prospect sign up so that the next person or the current owner can take it further for the next steps. So this is how a record can be shared with a person based on the different business conditions that you have. So similar to that, we can also create a data sharing on the contact or deal as well. So with this, all of your team can be on the same page and collaboratively work together to achieve your business, and the business needs to generate more and more revenues in the market. So this is how the record sharing can be done with the help of Kylas and the automation for the record sharing in the system. So let me show you one example on the deal side. So I have this deal. I will create immediate. Also here we have a delayed action where after a certain period of time, this record can also be shared. So I will again have this at a create event. Now I will be selecting based on condition, and here if you see there are multiple fields on which you can put your conditions. that can be used to automate your sharing records. So let me select a different type of field. So here I would be selecting estimated value greater than 1000. Then at the time, I also want this record to be shared with a user with the Mr. Siddhant. And at this time, I'm gonna only give update and note permission. So let's say, or the update permission. Save. Okay. Now again, this got the access issue. So let me upgrade the permission for Mr. Siddhant and give the deals access for the update as well. I will give update all so that we do not encounter this issue again. And save. Now, if we go back to this, so I have said when a deal is created and its estimated value is greater than 1000, then it can be shared with Mr. Siddhant. I can also give a name to this rule and done. So let me go back to our deal section and create a deal in the system. Okay, so laptop service motherboard. I will be selecting a estimated closure date. I'll select a pipeline, then contact and the companies, and here I will select a estimated value that is 1100. So let me add a product over here and I will give 1.5. So now the estimated value has been increased of more than 1000 and let me save. Okay, I also need to select one field and save. Now when we go back to Mr. Siddhant, so at this time let me log out and log in since I have changed the permission for Mr. Siddhant. So let me go to the deal and here if you see the first record is seeing as the laptop services motherboard and on the owner field if you notice it is showing still Arjun Kharat who is the actual owner of this record which is this one. But also Mr. Siddhant can see the record since I have made a or created an automation where records are being shared with the different business condition. So this is how we can collaboratively work within our organization and at the same time multiple people can work on the records. So going back again to our topic. So we saw what is record sharing in the Kylas system. Also, we have seen how a record can be shared manually within the Kylas system. And also, we have seen how we can automate such things considering our different business cases and share the record with the different teams with whom we collaboratively want to work. Okay, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Stay tuned. We will be connecting again on another topic in the next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.